Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I've been away for like the past month, haven't been uploading because in short my dad passed away and there's a lot of like traveling and planning that I had to do and all of that in like the past 4 weeks, and I think now my life is like back to normal. But whew, guys, I'm only 25 and I never pictured losing a parent. And I don't think anybody is ever ready to like lose a parent. But I think when you get older and your parents get older, you sort of like expect it. Like maybe you're like 60 something and your mom is still alive and she's like 80. I think when people get older, they start playing around with the idea of death and sort of like accepting that it's something that is going to happen. But when you're young, you just like, and it's crazy, it's like the craziest thing ever. And I think it's gonna take me a while to process that my dad is like he's no more. And I'm saying this because I'm very much aware of how I view this whole thing, because in my head majority of the time I still picture my dad being in KZN, and I just haven't seen him in a long time. That's just how I see it, because it's always been, not always, but for the past 7 years it's been like that. Like I haven't seen my dad since 2015 because my parents separated and he moved to KZN, though we were talking here and there, but I haven't seen him like physically since 2015. So in my head my dad is just in KZN and I haven't seen him, and like years are just going by, right? So please have a will, right? And I'm gonna be laughing. I think I'm gonna be laughing a lot in this video, not because I think what I'm saying is funny or I'm actually joking, but that's just how I've noticed that I process trauma and pain. If you can hear my son, he's outside, like outside the room. This is his room, sort of like kicked him out because I like the light that's coming in here. My ear is itchy, I don't know why. But yeah, I'm saying that I'm not laughing because I'm joking or I think what I'm saying is funny, but because it's just how I process pain. Sometimes I just laugh things off, but I don't really think it's funny. It just happens. So yeah, like the last video that I put out, I uploaded that video on a Saturday, and that following day, which was on a Sunday, that's when my dad passed away, or when we found out that my dad passed on. So Saturday, towards the end of that video, I'm actually saying that my partner is going to come pick us up and we're going to visit him and his mother in the south. And he picks us up on Saturday evening, I think around 6, 7, and then we go to Winchester Hills and we spend the night, right? And then Sunday morning, I didn't see his mother because she wakes up super early and goes to church. And then, so it was the three of us left in the house, so me and my partner and the baby. And around 9 o'clock, the baby was sleeping because he has a routine. So he sleeps like 9, 12, 3, 6, and then 9 again for the rest of the day. So that morning when my son was sleeping, so it's just me and my partner up, and my mom calls him and he answers the phone like, oh, it's your mom, and then answers the phone and they talk, and then just for a little bit, I'm pretty sure she was just saying that, where am I, because I'm not answering my phone. And I told her that I'm going to my partner's house. So he passes the phone over to me and I'm like, hi mama, and she's like, you're not answering your phone, I'm trying to call you. Now I'm thinking, where is my phone? I'm trying to look where my phone is, but I'm like on the phone with her. I'm like, what's up? So she says to me that she got a call from my cousin from KZN, and she was telling her that my dad passed away. He was shot. And like I've I've never like blacked out before, but I'm pretty sure I blacked out that morning, and I fainted, right? And I fainted, and fainting is different because, you know, yeah, but because I totally like, you know, and but I remember saying, Papa, like to confirm what she's saying, and she says yes, and then I don't know what happened. I didn't want to cry, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to my partner's phone. I don't know how I went from the living room to the kitchen, but when I got back into it, I was on the kitchen floor and my partner was behind me, and then I remembered that my mom said that he was shot. So now I'm telling my partner, like, I keep on saying to him, like, he was shot, you know. I just remember saying that. And yeah, and then when I got out of it, then I got up from the kitchen floor, and then I went to the couch and I sat on the couch and I called her back. Now I'm calling her with my phone now, and I'm trying to like, you know, like, what, you know. So I call her to like speak to her again, and she tells me again, and then she sort of like, I ask her like, what happened, like, you know, and she says she doesn't know. They still don't know what happened, but yeah, like, he died. And that was on a Sunday. And then my aunt, she lives in Pretoria with her husband, and they left Pretoria. They went and picked my sister up in Bronkhorstspruit with my niece, and then they came to Midrand. So my partner drove us from Winchester Hills to Midrand, and then my aunt and the husband and my sister and the niece came and picked us up, and we drove to Limpopo. That was like the longest 4 hours ever, because like, I don't know, man. Like, as much as we know death, nah, like, and I just said, like, have a when I die file. And I know people don't like talking about when they die, and they don't like the idea of death, and you know it's gonna happen, and you know, but it always gets you, like, it hits different, or like every single time. So we get home, I see my mom, you know, and then at that time, I guess between like the morning and when we got home, after like 4, 5, 6 hours, she found out exactly what happened. So she tells us what happened. So my parents were separated, right? So for like the past 7 years, they were not together. So my dad moved from Limpopo and went to KZN, and he had a new family. Like, he had another woman that he was living with, and my 2 little brothers were actually there as well, but they were just living in a different house. So he got to KZN and he bought a house for my 2 little brothers, and then he got another house that he was living with this woman in that other house. So my brothers were living in one house and he was living in another house, and they would visit each other and things like that. So this woman now that was living with my dad is the one that is telling us what happened, because she was there, and she's the only witness, by the way. So it's just the 2 of them in the house. So she says that, and I don't even know if I should be saying this because the police are investigating, but I don't know if I should be saying this, but anyway, yeah, it's not funny. She says that she was watching TV at around like 12 at night, and my dad was sleeping, and 4 men came in, and they immediately told her that they're not there for her and they want my dad, right? And I think that's another painful thing, that my dad was not sick, you know. Like, I think another thing is, when a person is sick, I think you sort of like play around with the idea of them passing, right? Like, it's sort of like, you think about it, especially if you've seen them and they get like critical and things like that. I think at some point you sort of like play around with the idea of them passing, not being there and things like that. But when someone was okay and they get shot, or there's an accident and it's just like out of the blue, I think it sort of like shocks your system even more. So she says these people came in and they said they are there for my dad. And I was actually about to say that I think it's painful to know that there are people who went in with the intention to kill my dad. Like it wasn't an accident, like it was planned. They come in, they tell her that they're not there for her, they're there for my dad. Where is he? And she says that he's sleeping, he's in the bedroom. And I'm guessing at that time when they came in, because another thing she says, these people, somebody threw like a rock on the roof or whatever, and she heard it, and then she went and opened the door, and there were 4 people outside the door, and they sort of like forced themselves in and came into the house. And they said they're not there for her. Where's my dad? And she said he's in the room, he's sleeping, and they went in the room. So I'm guessing my dad heard the rock on the roof or heard that there are people talking, and then he woke up. And she says these men sort of like pushed the bedroom door because my dad was blocking the door. And then they pushed the door and he fell because he was behind the door, and they forcefully pushed it, and then they shot him. So the first shot went by the side, right by the heart, and then through the lungs, right? And that was the first shot. And she says they took him and put him on the bed or whatever, right? They picked him up and put him on the bed, and they started asking my dad where his personal documents are. So these people basically took my dad's bank cards, they took his phones, they took his ID document, they took the title deed to the house, the other house, not the one he was shot in, the house that my 2 little brothers were living in. And then they took the documents to his car, like the logbook to the car. So, no man, they took another thing. I think there were 6 things. So they took the title deed, they took his ID document, they took, and car keys. Yes, they took car keys. And then after they got all of these things, because this woman was saying that one of the 4 men was on the phone. So someone was instructing them to demand all these things, like where's the phone, where's ID document, where's the title deed, where's this? So they were sent, basically, that's what she's saying. And then after they took all of these things, then they shot him again from the back of the head, and then they left around 5 in the morning. So all of this happened in like 5 hours, so from like 12 to 5, these people were in the house. She says they were going in and out, and at one point there was one that remained with her, and so she doesn't call anybody and things like that. So that's the story that she's telling us happened to my dad. And then that was on Sunday when we got home, and they told us the story. So we stayed at home with my mom, and I was still working. I only took, so that following week, Monday until Sunday, I was working, but we didn't bury that Sunday because the police had to investigate and they had to clean up, and the house was a crime scene and things like that. And then only the following, like the second week, that Saturday, did we have a funeral. So on Thursday, during the week sometime, I think on a Monday or a Tuesday, my son and I left Limpopo and came to Johannesburg again. And then that Thursday, because there's another aunt of mine that wanted to go to the funeral, and we were just going to use one car because there was literally like 6 of us. So I said I'll take a bus because I'm in Joburg. So I took a bus Thursday night around 6 o'clock, and then I arrived in Gokstead around like 9 hours later, so around like 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, around 4. Yeah. We arrived in Gokstad, and then my brother came and picked me up. My little brother, one that comes after me, came and picked me up. We drove home, right? So home, and I mean like my aunt's place in Gokstad. So I asked him to show me the house where they were living, like my dad's house, the house they were living in, the one with the title deed that was taken. So we drove there and we parked outside the house, and I saw it. Pretty cool house. And then we drove to my aunt's. That's where I was then going to sleep for like the whole funeral and all of that. So I went there, saw my aunt, and we talked, and she told me her side of the story, or how she received the news and what she heard and all of that. And yeah, like when we got there's a lot, again, like ups and downs, and we went and like bought like all the groceries and things, like my sister and I. My sister later. So my sister, my youngest brother, my uncle, his wife, and my aunt, or my dad's aunt, they ended up coming like 4 hours after me. So I arrived around 3, and then they arrived like around 7. Actually, I think I arrived like 4, right? And then they arrived like around 8 in the morning and things like that. So yeah. And then later on that day, then my sister and I went, and we started like, buying groceries or whatever. And then we went and picked my dad's coffin. And we went later on to go see his body, and we saw him like twice, because they were like, you can see him however many times you want to see him. And I hadn't seen him in like 7 years, so that was like weird. And I didn't think, the next time I'll see my dad is when he passes. So that was just weird. That was just weird. I did speak at my dad's funeral. I think I'm going to include a video, but I think I'm going to mute it out. But I did like a whole toast, and I'll just say this because I'm going to mute the video. But my dad used to like drink whiskey, right? So he drank whiskey, and he would like dash with like some Sprite, and I would be the person that mixes the drink for him. So for me, like I wanted to, like pour him his last drink, because it's something that I used to do. And so when I spoke, I sort of like poured the drink and gave him his last drink, because that was like his happy place. That's how he celebrated life. Like if he was excited about something, then with his whiskey, and like he goes and gets Sprite, and he wants like ice cubes, and you have to I would mix it for him and even taste it a little bit and then give it to him. And so I wanted to give him his last drink, because I'll never get to do it again. So I spoke at his funeral, and my partner was there, and he came with his mom, like all the way from Joburg to Kokstad, which is like freaking hell. Like that place is far, like a whole 10 hours away. And they came, it was him and his mom and his grandfather, they came to support us, and I'm so grateful. So yeah, like that's what happened. And then after the funeral, actually that very same day, then we drove back, and the police are fucking useless. Let me just put it out there. Like I don't even have my hopes high. Like I really don't. If anything, like gosh, like they're not doing absolutely nothing to find out what happened to my dad. Who are these people who came in? That lady that was living with my dad says that they were not covered up, like they didn't have any balaclavas on. Like, can't she identify them? Like, come on, But it's just, whoever did this knew my dad. Like, to know that my dad had 2 phones, to know that my dad had another house, and they took the title deed to that house and not the one he was shot in, or the one that he was actually living in. It's just, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's one thing if a person passes and they were sick, and it's like a natural cause, like the death was like a natural cause. But to know that somebody sat down and probably planned for this, and that's just creepy, and it's disgusting that you're going to die for assets and things that you worked for, or like material things. But yeah, like, really, I don't know. If you're a cop and you're watching this, please, guys, what's going on? Really, because I think it's frustrating to know that there are people out there who planned for my dad's death, and they have all these personal documents, and you're thinking, what do they want to do with them? And now I want to talk about when you pass and you don't have a will. Guys, please have wills. Like, I'm going to say this again. Even if you own like a freaking tiny little Kia Picanto and it's old, and there's a lot that goes into that. If you're going to pass and you don't have a will that's going to clearly stipulate that I want this to go there, I want this to be done with this, and oh my gosh, like, now my dad had 2 cars, and then there's this house that they stole the title deed for. Are they trying to take the house and sell it because there's fraud in South Africa and like criminal activities and just like corruption? Are they trying to steal the cars? Like, do they want the cars? Do they want the houses? Like, what's going on? I mean bank accounts, like bank cards, you can, if they knew his pain, like, you can, take the money. But something like a car, like, I don't know. But, it's just things that I'm sitting here and I'm just thinking about. And I think my whole family is just stressed about these things. Like, I think it's disgusting, and I think it's just cruel, and I think it's evil, and I think it's not okay, because the kind of person my dad was, and this woman was saying that my dad gave them everything, and that I believe, and I believe it with all of my heart, because my dad was not like into material things like that, like. And her saying that my dad would just, like, he didn't fight. He just gave them everything, like, just take them, like, just take them, And I believe that, because I knew him, and he didn't care about such things. Like, my dad would say this stupid thing, and he would literally say, like, money is meant to be eaten, like, eat your money while you're still alive, like, get that car if you want it, and get that house, and you want those shoes, get those shoes. Like, a lot of people say we grew up spoiled, because my dad was just like, if you have money and you have things that you want, then just get them, like, yeah, plan for the future and have savings and investments and things like that, but don't live like, don't live, how do I say this, like, don't live a life of like deficit, when you can actually add these things into your life. I don't know if I'm making sense. Like, don't deny yourself the privilege of having a car, but you can actually afford the car, like, you can actually afford the car. So my dad was like, yeah, I worked hard and I have all these things, and like, you want those shoes, I'll get you those shoes. You want the phone, I'll get you. My dad freaking bought me a laptop when I was in primary school, and my mom was like, what the hell? And I literally started using that laptop only when I got to varsity, and my dad got it when I was in primary school. So you can imagine, like, he didn't care about like material things, and when that woman said that he gave them everything and he didn't fight for nothing, and I really believe that, because that's the kind of person that he was. Like, where's the title deed? There it is. Where's your ID? This is my ID. Where's the car keys? There's the car keys. The car's outside or whatever. Like, just take them. And yeah, like I think it's cruel, man. I really think it's cruel. I really think it's just freaking evil. Like, I don't wanna lie, I think it's freaking evil. And my little brothers, and they're still so young. Like, I'm sorry, like I have an older sister and she's like 4 years older than me, so she's turning 30 and I'm turning 26, and I have a job and I have this place and I have a son, and like, I went to school and I studied and I'm sort of like living my life, or like starting to build my life, and my younger brother just did his matric last year, and the other one is like only like grade 9, and I don't think it's fair. I really don't think it's okay that, like, why didn't they take these things? And I'm pretty sure my dad would have just given them to them, like given them those things, like just take them and like spare my life, and because he has kids, and I think it's evil, and I want to know who did this, and not because I wish like evil upon them and stuff. I just want to know why, how can people be so evil? Like, I just don't get it. Like, why can't we just, like, if you want something, then just work for it. You know what I mean? Like, if you want a car, like, work for the car. And I know some people have like weird circumstances, and people have some, like, they grew up funny, and not funny like but grew up in like disadvantaged backgrounds and things like that. And I'm so sorry, this is disgusting, and they don't get the same opportunities as other people, and they probably won't even make it. I think there's some people who just, because of how they were born, or where the families that they were born into, like, they just disadvantaged, and they're not in criminal activities because they want to, but because it's a way of life. Like, they need to survive. But I think at the same time, like, some things are just cruel, I think for me, because I know my dad, and he would have been the kind of person to say, just take everything and let me live for my children. But they had to kill him, and literally just walked out. Like, they just walked out and left him there, and left the woman there, and like, there's a lot for me that doesn't make sense, but that's what happened. And in my head, my dad is just in KZN, and I haven't seen him in like a long time, and because I haven't, and then there are days when now I zone in and I like focus on it, and because I saw his body, and I get that picture back in my head, like, oh yeah, when my dad passed, and oh man, like, life is fragile, and if you have parents and your mom is still alive, or your dad is still alive, or they're just people in your life that you love, just tell them. Like, just wear your heart on your sleeve. And I always say this, and I'm not just saying this because of what just happened. Like, I always say, I find it so weird when people, like, two people like each other. Like, when you're watching romantic movies and people like each other, but they don't tell each other, like, yo, I like you. I'm not that kind of person. Like, I will straight up tell you, like, I like you, And if I don't like you, I'll straight up tell you, like, I'm not feeling you like that. Like, I don't like you like that. Like, live a life of honesty, and live a life that's out there. And I think I'm gonna end the video here, because I think it's pretty long and I'm talking a lot. So I don't know what I want you guys to comment down below, but just I don't know. I don't know, like just whatever the Lord puts upon your heart to say down below, just say it. If you want to help, if you're a cop, like I said, if you're a private investigator, hit your girl up. You guys are mad expensive, but like, you know, and hug your mom, man, like hug your dad, bruh, like life is short. Life is freaking fragile. Even now, like with this COVID thing and people passing, and just 2 days ago, today is Friday, actually yesterday I found out that my mom's cousin passed, and they were literally sitting with her in her bedroom and she started saying she can't breathe and she just died. And her children were there and her sisters were there, and like, because the family prays at 12 at night, right? So they don't sleep until 12 and then they pray and then they all go to sleep, and they live in, like, you know, they used to have this big ass family house and every person had their own room and stuff, and now they had children, and you know, she goes to her room and says she's not feeling okay, and she goes to sleep. Later on, she calls her 2 little children, and she's young, man, like 32, 33. She calls her kids, like she wants a pillow because the one that she's using is too low and soft. She wants one that's gonna like proper neck up and stuff. So they give her another pillow, and then they automatically just move to that room, and they're sitting there making jokes and talking and laughing. And then all of a sudden she says she can't breathe, she's choking, and then she just dies, you know. And I don't know, guys, but I don't know what the hell is going on. If this is like a spirit of death that we need to pray against or what, but hug the people you love. Tell the people you love that you love them. If you literally love somebody, and I'm not even talking like family now, like if you literally want to be with somebody, like tell them, you know. Do the things that make you happy. If you need to quit that job, quit that job. Do what you love, you know, like just live life. And I think that's one thing that I learned with this. I learned a lot with my dad's passing. First of all, have a will and leave your toothbrush to somebody else if you really, really want your toothbrush to be left to somebody else, right? Because people are weird like that. If you want to be cremated and whatever, like me, I want to be cremated, you know, have a when I die file. Please cremate me. If you don't want to be cremated, tell them to put you in that Chanel outfit or that Gucci outfit. Tell them to go buy it or loan money to go get you that Louis Vuitton suit or whatever. They'll put you in it, you know. Tell them what hairstyle you want, you know, because my dad was freaking fire in that coffin. I know this is dark, but my dad was fucking handsome, guys. Like, my dad was like a yellow bone nigger, and I always tell my mom, you see your kids are so pretty, because look, I think I'm pretty, I think my sister's pretty, I think my whole family is beautiful, I think my dad is hot, and I think my mom is like freaking gorgeous. And people always thought my dad was like colored or like Khoisan or whatever. So when I saw him, like, he looked so beautiful, he was so freaking handsome still. And you know, they did like a nice little mustache, like, you know, he was presentable. It was just like he's sleeping, you know. So say what you want. I know this is weird, but have a when I die file, guys, and just tell the people you love that you love them, and appreciate the people that you have next to you, because man, like, and Jesus is Lord. Jesus is always Lord, and I hope that one day we find out who did this to my dad, and they get to pay in whatever way they get to pay. And because I'll never get my dad back, I just want to know why. I think that's my only question, like, why? That's all I want to know. But thank you guys so much for watching this very long video, and if you made it this far, comment. Let's see what's around. I'm trying to look for a word that's around, but oh wait, it's actually, my son is turning 10 months old. He's turning 10 months today, if you made it this far, please wish him a happy birthday down below, and I'll know you made it this far, and I'll give you kisses, 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 and love. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time. And I'm not going to be looking like this, I promise. I love you guys so, so much, and thank you so much for the support. And those of you guys who send me messages and condolences, thank you so much. Be blessed, and stay safe. Make great choices, and just love, love, love. Thank you guys. Bye.